everybody! Okay, it's Wednesday, so it's time for another Shimelle sketch. Now, you'll notice we missed last week, and there was a reason for that. So I shot my intro, did an entire layout, and then went to load it up into YouTube, and I had corrupted files and stuff wasn't working, and I didn't have the video footage creating my layout. Whereupon I burst into tears, literal tears, and realized that I needed a break. And you'll notice that there was no videos Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, until gave myself a little bit of a mental health break in there. Because you know what, when a messed up video literally makes you cry, it's time to stop for a bit. Just throwing that out there. But so this was the sketch from what would have been last week, and I will put Shimelle's blog post down below. And here is the layout that I created and then lost all the footage for. Let's not do that again. I used Paige Evans' Truly Grateful collection, 2 photos of my little boy, and I pretty much stuck to the sketch very, I fishtailed I made these banners instead of just papers. I fishtailed them. But yeah, I really kind of stuck to them. I really wanted to fussy cut these trees and add them to this layout, and so I did. And yeah, so this was last week's layout. I'm sorry I don't have a video or anything. It's a week late and all that jazz, but yeah. Sometimes that happens, and I needed to just take a step back and walk away for a while. So that's that. Let's get on to this week. So this week's sketch is here. Now I have 2 guest designers with me for this week's sketch, Krista and Shannon. I will link their YouTube below. We also have a video and Shimelle's blog post that I will keep. So for the sketch, I don't know exactly where I'm going to go with it. I have pulled my 2 photos. So I know I want to use these 2 photos. I have pulled this cut file and this wood veneer paper. In Shimelle's layout, she used fabric, which I thought was awesome, but I don't really have any here. So I thought I would use this beautiful wood veneer paper from Cardstock Warehouse. This is the cherry paper. It's 8.5 by 11, so I'm just going to cut like an 8.5 by 8.5 square. And I thought that would make a fun addition. The other thing is all these layers, one of these layers, I'm going to go ahead and use a cut file, this cut file instead of a layer. But I haven't picked products yet or colors, and I don't have as much journaling as Shimelle has in her layout, so I'm thinking about moving the title to over here and then putting my journaling kind of and putting it into a journaling block up here. So I'm going to flip the sketch around just a little bit. This sketch would work really well with 1 4x6 photo if you wanted, or another thing I think you could fit within this space here is 4 3x4 photos, which would make a really nice layout if you're someone who really likes to have lots of photos. If you had 4 3x4 layouts, that would be really cool too. So that is my plan. I'm going to go dig into my stash and come up with I'm almost thinking about grabbing some of my Vicki Boutin field notes or color kaleidoscope and using some of that. My son is outside and he's painting a canvas and then he's putting feathers on the canvas to decorate it. And so I'm thinking that I might go with one of Vicki Boutin's collections. I'm not 100% sure though. I still have to work on that, but that's where my head is right now. All right, so I'm going to go hit up my stash, see what I can find, see what I think I want to use, and then I'll come back and we'll start creating. And here we go. Look, my camera kept my footage. Wasn't that nice of it? So the beginning of this layout is going to be a lot of repetition. I feel like I've been saying that on a lot of my videos recently. Maybe I'm just kind of drawn to layouts where I can just punch a lot of shapes or stamp a lot of images all at the same time. I don't know. Anyway, I'm starting with that wood veneer paper. I'm going to cut it 8.5 by 8.5, and that's going to be the base for all the other stacked papers that I am going to use today. Now, all of my stacked papers are getting some vintage photo distress oxide ink right along the edges. So when I pulled out, this is Color Kaleidoscope, in case you were wondering. I know I kind of went back and forth about which one of Vicki Boutin's lines I was going to use, but I decided to go with Color Kaleidoscope. Mostly because of the amount of scraps that I had in that collection. I had so many that it just would work really well for me to trim those scraps down into nice squares or rectangles and use those to pile up. So I'm going to go through this whole stack of papers, make them, even them up a little bit. So some are rectangles and some are squares, but if there's any kind of chunky offcut pieces, I'm just kind of cleaning up the edges. And then as I go through here, I also have chosen some die cut pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and ink those up too. That just saves me a step. Plus, I'm one of these people that once I start like creating, I forget that I wanted to ink stuff. And then sometimes you would never know it, but other times you really do notice it. You know, like I notice it, probably no one else would, but I notice it when I forget to ink an element on a page and I really wanted everything to be inked nicely. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue making stacks and inking these different elements up, and then I really like how that stack is and I don't want it to be messed up. So I'm just going to give it a quick staple, which is not how I would normally put my papers together, but you know what, I didn't want to take that apart and then try to get it back exactly the way it was. And then I'm going to use this cloud paper as my background. I think it worked perfectly. And then I'm going to go ahead here and just tuck in that art die cut, those are brush die cuts, and I'm just going to move it. I'm going to fidget with this a little bit because I want it to be just right. I want you to be able to tell that it's a cut file, that it is a cup with a set of paintbrushes in it, but I also don't want it to hang off the edge. So I'm kind of just moving stuff around till I figure out how I want it to be placed, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape it down. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my photos down and get this paper down. So this is probably a little bit bigger than in the sketch, but I'm okay with it because I know that I don't have a ton of journaling. I have some, but I kind of tend to be on the minimalist side of journaling. I speak very concisely in my everyday speech, and so that's how I do my journaling, very concisely. So next up, I'm going to go ahead and grab just a sheet of dark cardstock paper that was in my little scrap bin, and I'm going to add some splatters. I'm going to add some gold splatters, which is Glorious Days from Shimmers, and I'm going to add some Night Moves splatters, which is also from Shimmers, my two favorite splatters. And so I'm going to just go ahead and add to this. Now, I will tell you that this wood veneer paper took the ink from the splatters and kind of spread it. I'm not real happy with how it turned out when it hit the wood veneer paper. So, especially that bottom. The top corner was okay. That one turned out all right. But that bottom corner, for some reason, some of the ink kind of got into the grooves of the wood veneer paper and wanted to spread, and I wasn't happy with it. So I'm going to end up covering that bottom piece up quite a bit. So I'm going to use this little card as my journaling, and I'm going to put a little stack of stuff behind my journaling card there. You can see it here as I kind of go through my die cuts. I'm going to move things around and decide on placement and where I want different things to go. And a lot of this is just the die cuts and the sticker book from the Color Kaleidoscope. And I'm also going to work on that bottom piece there. So the top piece up at the top is going to have this almost like a file folder type of a die cut, and then I'm going to layer my journaling on top of that. And then I'm going to tuck this really super cute light bulb here, and then I think I had a staple. That's what I was doing there. Just to keep the staples going through. And then this little journal card is going to be part of this cluster right here. So this month in our Rediscover the Stash Facebook group, the product of the month is journaling cards, like project life cards or cut apart sheets. And so I really wanted to use some of those. I haven't had a lot of opportunity this month to play along with the product of the month in that group. So I did want to make sure that I added that little cut apart card or some project life type cards. So that is from one of the cut apart sheets from Color Kaleidoscope. And I love that pop of color and then that really cool paintbrush. So my journaling talks about this photo. These are pictures I've actually scrapbooked before. So one of the layouts is going to go in our family album, and then one of them goes in my son's school album. This is the one for his school album. And the journaling is different on both. So the journaling on this one talks about how his school kind of this year he's in 6th grade. This was in 2017, so he was in 6th grade. In 6th grade, he didn't get to have an art class, which he had through all of his elementary schools. He is homeschooled and cyberschooled, and he still had art classes throughout, but 6th grade, they stopped the art classes. And so I really wanted to document the fact that even though he didn't get art class through his school anymore, we still made it a point of doing art projects throughout the year that he could do, and one of the things he really loves is to paint. So this is where I'm going to call this layout done. I'm kind of going through my last little pieces to see if I want any last, and this is where we're going to leave this one for today. I hope you have enjoyed this lovely process video, and stop by again next week for another Shimelle Sketches Reimagined. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye!